Coming up, health leaders say they are seeing an increase in COVID cases.
Dedicated to Eastern and Southern Kentucky, this is WYMT Mountain News at 11.
Good evening, I'm Steve Hensley. Statewide health leaders say they are continuing to see an increase in COVID-19 cases. They are encouraging people to get a new COVID vaccine when it becomes available, and that may not be for several weeks. Kentucky's summer surge is sending more and more people to the emergency rooms. WYMT's Phil Pendleton spoke to health officials in Pulaski County about why the new vaccine is important.
COVID-19 numbers are running ahead of what health leaders say they were seeing this time last year.
There's a return to school, so students are back in the classrooms in close proximities, and that's one of the reasons we think that maybe there's some increase this month.
A new variant is causing people to have fevers, shortness of breath, coughing, and other symptoms. A new vaccine should arrive in about 3 weeks.
Not necessarily going to completely stop you from getting COVID. It's designed to help it be less impactful on you.
And no vaccines are currently being given out here right now for COVID-19. Health leaders are being told to wait for this new vaccine, which does address the new variants of COVID-19. The new vaccine is arriving as health leaders say hospitals across the state are seeing more admissions.
Hospitalizations are sitting at about 880 for the month of August, and that for emergency room visits, we're just over about 4,000 emergency room visits in August.
Doctors at Lake Cumberland Regional Hospital also say there's been a marked increase over the past 2 to 3 weeks.
It's not going away, but we do hope that with the vaccinations, we can keep the numbers from rising anymore.
In Pulaski County, Phil Pendleton, WKYT.
The Lake Cumberland District health leaders say the exact numbers are harder to gauge now because so many people take the at-home tests.
Well, as forecasted, we had highs in the mid to upper 90s, some places very close to that 100-degree mark. Take a look here at the numbers for today. Made it to 98 in Monticello, 99 in Somerset, 98 in Lexington, as well as Irvin. Look at Louisville. Made it to 102. That's not the heat index. That's the actual temperature, 102. Charleston made it to the century mark. We made it to 95 in Prestonsburg, Pikeville, Hazard, and Jackson. That puts us on par for being tied for the warmest day of the meteorological summer. The other day that we hit 95 was on July 15th. And right now, look at Louisville, 86 degrees. We're at 72 in Hazard, 77 Jackson, 70 in Clintwood, 73 in Jonesville. But you factor in the feels like temperature, still very close to 90 in Louisville, 79 in Logan, 79 London, 85 Monticello, 73 in Jonesville, as well as Harlan. Temperature change, though, you can tell where we've had a little bit of rain, where it's starting to cool off towards Prestonsburg as well as Pikeville. Now, all eyes are on tomorrow. We have the Pike County Bowl forecast coming up in a few minutes. Steve.
All right, Eric, thank you. Kentucky State Police have identified the woman killed overnight in Leslie County. Early this morning, Leslie County deputies were called to a home in the Wooten community in response to a reported gunshot. Deputies found Mary Andrews of London had been shot. She was taken to the hospital where she later died. Police later arrested William Pennington of Wooten. State police say it's still early in the investigation.
At this point, that's something we're still investigating. We've got questions that we're trying to get answers to. As of right now, we're trying to get all the pieces together of what transpired and what led up to the actual shooting itself.
Pennington has been charged with manslaughter and is being held in the Leslie County Detention Center. 2 men are accused of stealing wire from a coal mine. It happened at the Cobra coal mine on Kentucky 233 in the Gray community in Knox County. As the suspects were trying to get away, a deputy says he was forced off the roadway to avoid a head-on collision. The driver, 29-year-old Michael Flannelly, and the passenger, 29-year-old Abraham Flannelly, both of Williamsburg, were eventually arrested. They face various charges and were taken to the Knox County Detention Center. A man is accused of setting a house on fire in southern Kentucky. London police say through a joint effort with Kentucky State Police, they arrested Brandon Dixon. The arrest follows a Sunday house fire on North Mill Street, which fire crews say appeared to be intentionally set. Dixon is charged with arson. He's being held in the Laurel County Detention Center. One Eastern Kentucky restaurant was given movie replica money. Jenkins police say 2 teenagers used the fake $20 bills to pay for their meal at Paco's Mexican restaurant. Director of Compliance and Enforcement Chris Anderson says they have identified the teens responsible and have resolved the situation.
The parties that are responsible for this are working to make it right, which is good. You know, kids make mistakes. We understand that. We don't necessarily want a kid's mistake like this to be something that will stick with them forever, especially if they're willing to own up to it and make it right.
The sheriff's office in Laurel County is also warning tonight about replica movie bills being used in that community. Democratic presidential candidate Vice President Kamala Harris sat down with her running mate, Minnesota Governor Tim Walz, for their first interview since they officially accepted their nominations. The candidates also hit the campaign trail, as did the Republican candidate, former President Donald Trump. CBS's Natalie Brand reports on the day's events from Washington.
Hi, how are you?
Vice President Kamala Harris gave her first sit-down interview since she became the Democratic candidate for president. She said on day one she would focus on improving the economy.
One of my highest priorities is to do what we can to support and strengthen the middle class.
Harris decided to answer questions alongside her running mate, Minnesota Governor Tim Walz, for the interview, broadcast in primetime on CNN.
Well, I'm excited about this agenda, too. As I said, the idea of inspiring America to what can be. And I think many of these things that the vice president's proposing are things that we share in values.
Before the interview aired, Harris held a rally in Savannah, Georgia, where she touched on the issue of abortion.
It is a fight for freedom. Like the freedom of a woman to make decisions about her own body.
The Republican presidential candidate, former President Donald Trump, also spoke about women's health during a rally in Michigan, focusing on the issue of in vitro fertilization.
I'm announcing today in a major statement that under the Trump administration, your government will pay for, or your insurance company will be mandated to pay for, all costs associated with IVF treatment, fertilization for women.
Trump also appeared Thursday night in Battleground, Wisconsin, during a town hall moderated by former Democratic Congresswoman Tulsi Gabbard. Trump is scheduled to be back on the campaign trail Friday in Johnstown, Pennsylvania. Natalie Brand, CBS News, Washington.
Walz is devoting some of his time to fundraising for the campaign during the next couple of days. Some Kentucky lawmakers are leaving for Taiwan tomorrow. Senate President Robert Stivers is among a delegation of legislative leaders from the U.S. visiting America's 8th largest trading partner. In a news release, Stivers said the hope is to expand economic and educational opportunities in the future. Saturday, August 31st will mark the first official Overdose Awareness Day in Kentucky. Governor Andy Beshear made that announcement at a Team Kentucky update today. In observance of the day, flags at all state office buildings will be lowered to half-staff. The governor's mansion will also be lit purple to show support for overdose awareness. Linda Squire, a mother from Louisville who lost her son to an overdose, joined today's briefing.
Kentucky has led the way in overdose awareness and prevention. We are doing our part to stop the stigma, to increase opportunities for treatment and recovery, and to give hope to those that are still struggling.
Governor Beshear also highlighted Kentucky State Police recent drug seizures. He says state troopers seized more than $9.6 million worth of drugs in July. That's the largest amount seized in 1 month in recent history. A unique conference is wrapping up tonight focused on women steelworkers. The Women of Steel Conference was hosted in Lexington. Tonight, Lieutenant Governor Jacqueline Coleman spoke to the conference of 100 women from 4 different states. District Director Larry Ray says the conference is about empowering women in the workplace.
It's good, it's union building, it's union power, and it goes to show that when we collectively work together, we can create good paying jobs with good benefits that sustain family values.
The conference started Sunday. Today was the final night. The Labor Day travel period started today, and the Transportation Safety Administration expects tomorrow to be the busiest travel day of the holiday weekend. TSA is expected to screen a record-breaking 17 million people through September 4th. Nearly 3 million people are expected to be screened through airports.
AAA's booking data shows that Labor Day domestic travel is up 9% this year. So more people will be traveling domestically this Labor Day compared to last.
AAA expects this to be the busiest Labor Day travel period on record. Kentucky State Police are testing out a new program to make getting a driver's license easier in some rural areas. State Police will run pop-up testing centers in places that do not have a full-time driver's license regional office to administer road tests for new drivers. The program starts next month in 5 counties, including Perry. Bluegrass Care Navigators in Perry County raised more than $25,000 in donations during its annual radio day recently. Now staff members continue to press the importance of hospice care in the community. Bluegrass Hospice Care Center in Hazard is a not-for-profit. They are able to provide hospice care to patients at no cost, no matter if the patient has insurance or not. Nurse manager Donna Gibson says she has enjoyed working in hospice care.
People are letting us into their homes and into their private time at a very vulnerable time in their lives. It's rewarding as, you know, I've taken care of patients that I see their families out today, and they are still so thankful for what you have done for their family member.
The Hospice Center continues to raise money throughout the year. They also accept donations of food and other items. Those interested can go online to bgcarenav.org. Coming up on Mountain News at 11, the summer heat is impacting athletic activities, how coaches are making sure their players are safe.
And in the world of weather, that heat continues for the day on Friday, but we are going to cool off. And I'll tell you when in the first alert forecast in a few minutes. Stay with us.